When do you feel like your best self? Do you find it while you're painting, dancing, or while giving a big presentation? What you may have realized is that depending on the activity that you're doing, you experience reality completely differently. Why is this the case? Well, we're the same person, and yet certain activities bring out a different expression of self within us, primarily driven by emotions which cascade into an altered mindset. The person that you are at work versus the person that you are taking your grandma out for lunch is completely different. The environment encourages you to behave a certain way. It'll bring out of you a perspective and a mode of operation which should serve you to perform best in the given scenario. Unfortunately for us, a lot of the world has been set up to place us in an undesirable state of consciousness. Some bad actors have become aware of how easy it is to manipulate someone else's consciousness and their experience, and are using powerful stimuli to control the masses. We've been in a state of hypnosis by large corporations who are trying to control the culture to perpetuate unhealthy habits to keep you in a compromised state, never truly gaining autonomy over your own self. They've crafted stimulus which is so powerful that a majority of people are helpless in the presence of it. Fast food, nicotine, pornography, and social media are all so powerful that they lead us into indulgence, where we become sedated and distracted from our great aims. We're in a battle against those who wish to exploit human consciousness for short-term profit, and our tool in this fight is our own conscious awareness. Today, we'll raise our self-awareness over the fact that everything we do is a fluctuation in consciousness and just how powerful your emotions are changing your perspective. Once we accept this, we'll explore how the various emotional-driven modes of consciousness are more or less valuable to us on our journey throughout life. By the end, I hope you're armed with some tools to push yourself towards the desirable states of consciousness and away from the control of others. To get started, we have to lay some groundwork. If you've watched any of my videos before, you should be familiar with my opinion that we should all have something that we're striving towards achieving. Hopefully, you have your own goals and aspirations in life. And if you do, you probably have recognized that you often struggle to take action on them. It can be incredibly frustrating to know what it is that you must do and not have the motivation to act upon it. It's a continuous battle, but once you understand what enhances and takes away from motivation, you'll be armed to act upon your intentions more effortlessly. If you find yourself struggling to make progress, you should be comforted by the fact that anything that is worth doing requires energy to start. This is called activation energy. The more meaningful an action is, the more activation energy will be required to actualize yourself into that behavior. This is simply the way that it has to be. The universe is set up this way to ensure that only those who are powerful enough to raise their energy are worthy enough to reap the benefits of their intentions. It prevents people with low awareness and selfish intentions from doing too much damage to the world. Everyone has an intention for a better life. Everyone wants great health, wealth, and relationships. We all have thoughts in our mind which we want to actualize. If we actualize these thoughts, we'll become closer to living out our higher self. We all have these thoughts, and yet most people fail to bring them into reality. The reason why is that because most people have a gap between their intention and the energy in their system to activate it. To help you absorb this point a little bit further, we're going to have to get a little bit abstract. But hopefully, I don't get too lost in the weeds here. It's my belief that how powerful of a being you are is dictated by your ability to convert immaterial thoughts into a material action in as little time as possible. Look at religious texts. Christians believe that God exercised thought and the universe was made. The most powerful being in existence, God, is so powerful because he has the ability to convert thought into material immediately. Even if you're not religious, you should be able to see the message here. There may or may not be a being this powerful, but consider the concept on a spectrum with the idea of God being the most powerful. Now let's bring it back to more practical examples. Think about the people throughout history who we have the most respect for. They all had some sort of vision, an intention for the world, which came out of their own thoughts. Not only did they have this vision, but they held the ability to bring it into reality. Martin Luther King not only had a dream for civil rights, but he also helped change the world to make it a reality. Elon Musk had the intention to make rockets reusable and also backed up that thought with making it a reality. Steve Jobs thought of a future where everyone would have a computer in their pocket and backed up that intention with the creation of a material product, the iPhone. All these great visionaries are respected not only because of their ability to dream big, but also act upon their dreams and materialize the immaterial thought faster than others. I'm sure that others had the same idea as Steve Jobs, but they were not as powerful as he because of the timeline between thinking a good thought and making a great action. At a high-level view of life, this is the closest thing I've found to truth. We're in a position where we have godlike abilities. We can exercise critical thought and act upon it to change and build the world around us. To our knowledge, no other species has this power. The problem with the modern day is that so many people feel powerless. They have a dream, but have no energy in their system to actualize their thoughts and change the world around them. If you want to break free from being a victim to the world around you, you must determine how to raise yourself into a higher state of consciousness, which is associated with an energy state. What do I mean by a higher state of consciousness? Well, there are many ways to think about our consciousness, and one way is like a speedometer. There are low and high expressions of consciousness, and your current position is dictated by the location of that needle. You can analyze your current position by raising your self-awareness of how energized you are, which is controlled by the emotion that you're feeling. Remember, emotion is energy in motion. If you're possessed by negative emotions such as fear, guilt, and shame, then your needle will be pointing to the side with the low energy state. When we experience positive emotions such as love, acceptance, and joy, we exist in a high energy state. The energy state of our body is largely responsible for the materialization of our thoughts into actions. If you're in a low energy state, you'll struggle to actualize any of your intentions as you have no activation energy. As you can see, conscious awareness of our emotions is an important step to achieving our goals. Not only that, but the emotion that we're feeling will control the amount of energy in our system and dictate how we choose to behave upon our intentions. It'll pull you towards the actualization of your higher self or drown you into unfulfillment and further negative emotion. The energy in our system truly is the secret to self-actualization. You may have the conscious intention to do something, but if you have too low of energy in your system, you don't have the activation energy required to overcome the friction that's present. You don't have the activation energy required to overcome the friction that's present. By existing in a high energy state, you have more activation energy and can power through the adversity around you. You'll be able to act upon your conscious intention more often, and in doing so, continue to energize your system. In the end, you'll be closer to exercising your godlike abilities and compress the timeline between a good intention and expressing that through action. This might be making sense, but you're probably struggling on understanding how to turn this dial of low energy into a high energy. As I mentioned, you must first recognize the state in which your body is in. With this awareness, you can utilize a few tools to move yourself into a higher energy state. Before I cover these tools, a word of caution. You have to be careful with the stimulus that you associate with providing positive emotion and raising your energy state. A beneficial stimulus adds net energy to your system. Pay close attention to my wording here, net energy. Oftentimes we'll get confused by stimulus which we perceive to add immediate energy to our system and forget the fact that later it takes more away than was gained. Consider a stimulus like a drug or like cocaine. It certainly will add energy to your system immediately. You may say, for this, it must be beneficial then. But this isn't the case when you look at the big picture. It adds energy to your system immediately, but promotes negative emotion behavior, which spirals us into low energy states over time. Our energy must always come back to an equilibrium. We experience a peak in energy but drag the following day, regretting the decision to consume the substance and ending with a net negative balance. Hopefully this makes sense to you. Cocaine or any other drug is a great example because of how high the peaks are and how low the valleys can be. This holds true for everyday stimulus that you engage with. Caffeine, fast food, pornography, and many other things. They might raise your energy upon consumption, but ultimately throw you into a lower negative energy state. Recognize in your own life what stimulus that you're engaging in and how they influence your energy upon consumption and throughout the day. This simple exercise will do wonders to changing your lifestyle. Once you recognize what a stimulus actually is doing to your energy, you'll become far more motivated to remove it from your life. Now that we have that out of the way, you're probably wondering what helps positively influence your emotions and therefore your behavior. From person to person, what helps move the needle most might be different, but as a generality, there are a few activities that we can engage in consistently when we desire to increase energy. This entire video could be about this all in itself. So I'm going to simply cover a high-level overview of the behaviors, and it'll be your responsibility to try to incorporate them into your own life. Once you do so, let me know in the comments how it's worked for you. For starters, you have to begin treating your body better. Your body is the vehicle for your energy. We build up energy blockers by getting poor sleep, eating bad foods, and not exercising enough. These three pillars of physical health, sleep, nutrition, and fitness, can truly account for 80% of the gains that you need in physical energy. Sparing you the technical mumbo jumbo, they all release feel-good chemicals in the brain and promote positive emotion. You'll have energy to accomplish your goals by sleeping right, eating a balanced diet, and moving your body. Think of it like investments where you get higher energy later. In addition to these physical tips, there are also a great deal of mental exercises which can alter your energy state. Oftentimes, we exist in a low energy state because of an unresolved conflict in the mind. Throughout our lives, we're subjected to a multitude of experiences which you might deem to be uncomfortable. When we fail to come to peace and accept what has happened to us, our minds continue to battle these conflicts. Failing to come to peace with our past leads to negative emotions such as fear, guilt, shame, and many others. We can quickly begin to feel like a victim because of some unfortunate traumatic experiences. To overcome these painful memories, no longer letting them spiral us into negative emotion, we must devote ourselves to inner work practices like meditation. Depending on how traumatizing of a background you have, you may need to seek external help through a qualified therapist. Regardless if you choose to see a professional or not, you must realize that a therapist will never solve your problems themselves. They're there to facilitate you solving your own problems. The only real change comes from inside. Others can help you speed up the process with appropriate questioning, but change will only come from within yourself. The best way I've found to identify these unpleasant past experiences is through solitude and meditation. Take time to journal about your life and look within your mind. It might be scary what you find, but if you're able to confront it, you'll become better for it. By accepting our past, we can overcome another blocker to our energy and become closer to actualizing our true potential. There are many more tips that I could give you that have helped me dramatically, but in all honesty, it's not about doing more complex exercises. If you want to see real change, you need to commit to the fundamentals. If you dedicated the next month to prioritizing your physical and mental health, your energy will be dramatically higher. It's not rocket science, and yet so many of us struggle to act on even these four categories of sleep, nutrition, fitness, and meditation. If your activation energy is so low that you can't convince yourself to do any of the behaviors I just suggested, it's because your current behaviors are perpetuating low energy. The only path forward is for you to raise self-awareness over your current lifestyle and reflect on what raises or lowers your energy state. Not to just keep repeating this, but it's incredibly important. You need to understand your current emotional state through a self-awareness practice. Once you understand yourself and your current state, then you can reach into your toolbox and adjust your state, allowing you to accomplish exactly what you intend to. I firmly believe that all of this starts with self-awareness. You have to recognize the gap between your current energy and the energy state that you must exist in to do your best work. We know we perform at our best when we're able to have high energy and able to narrow that energy into a specific activity. Realize when you're not in a desired state and begin turning these levers. Will you use the incredible complexity of the human brain to its fullest potential or waste it? There's no passion to be found by playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one that you're capable of living. If you found this useful or cool, hit the like and subscribe button and comment your thoughts below. Thanks.